Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of SamDjanShow. Today we're looking at what went wrong with the DCEU, so let's get into it. Welcome back to the next episode of the SamDjanShow where we talk about pop culture. Today we're looking at what went wrong with the DCEU. Now look, there's plenty of videos of what went wrong with the DCEU. Today I'm going to look over the DCEU, the good, the bad, and I'm going to look forward to the future of what happens to DC Universe. So let's get into it. So let's start with the early days. So this is their first attempt at making a cinematic universe. So it all started in 2007, where they wanted to do Justice League Mortal, which was supposed to be in 2007. This was going to star Megan Gale, Common, Adam Brody, DJ Katrona, and Armie Hammer. And this was supposed to come around 2007. And this was supposed to start a franchise, so it was going to start with this movie. And I think we were going to get sequels and solo movies. And the reason this didn't happen was because of the guild strike, and also because Christopher Nolan already had a Batman. He had the Christian Bale Batman, and he didn't want any other iteration of Batman. So, yeah, thus this getting cancelled. And yeah, I kind of wish what this movie was supposed to be. I've read the script. You can check out the script, and so yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about this. There's really no, all we have is just set photos. There's set photos on each character, and so let's move on to Green Lantern. So 2011, this was their second attempt at making a cinematic universe. Green Lantern, directed by uh was it Martin Campbell, and it starred Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Peter Sarsgaard, Mark Strong, Angela Bassett, and Tim Robbins. And yeah, this was supposed to start a universe. This movie was supposed to come out. This movie came out in 2011, and yeah, the movie bombed at the box office. It received negative reviews. Most of the negative reviews was aimed at the script, the tone, the visual effects, and unfaithfulness to the source material. However, Ryan Reynolds' performance of Super Plays made 219.9 million, making a box office bomb. And so yeah, this was their second attempt at making a universe. But obviously, due to the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they decided to make a Superman movie and have that start the DC Universe, and which they did. So 2013, we had Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder and starring Henry Cavill. This is the origin story of Superman, and it stars Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Michael Shannon, Kevin Costner, Dan Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, and Russell Crowe. Now, you pretty much know the history of this movie. This movie was supposed to start the DC Extended Universe, and critics praised its action sequences and visual styles, but criticized the film as generic, while they were divided on Cavill's performance as Superman. This was released June 14, 2013, and made 668 million, which Warner Bros. Were a success, and they have had to start this universe. And also in 2014, they released the slate. So we were going to have Man of Steel 2013, BVS, Suicide Squad 2016, Wonder Woman and Justice League Part 1 2017. We're going to have The Flash, Aquaman, and Untitled DC movie in 2018, Shazam, Justice League Part 2, and another Untitled DC film in 2019, and Cyborg and Green Lantern Corps. And so in 2016, we had Batman vs. Superman, which is the first live action movie to feature Batman and Superman in the same movie. And this was supposed to be the follow up to Man of Steel. They were going to do Man of Steel 2, but the studio wanted Batman vs. Superman, and they cast Ben Affleck as Batman, also Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and this was supposed to be the introduction to Justice League. And it had a historic drop in the second week and never recovered. It made 873.6 million worldwide, and it was released March 25th, 2016, and received generally. Even though it made 873 million, Warner Brothers were disappointed at the box office. It received generally unfavorable reviews, and yeah, an extended cut called the Ultimate Edition was released on the Blu-ray, which had 30 extra minutes, which was better received. But I think the tone is not good. It's a mess. The only good thing in this is probably Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and probably Ben Affleck as Batman. That's pretty much it. Then let's move to Suicide Squad, which was released later that year, which was supposed to be directed by David Ayer, and had ensemble cast. You had Jared Leto, Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, Viola Davis, Jai Courtney, Jay Hernandez, Adewale Akin, Noah Abjay, Ike Barinholtz, Scott Eastwood, and Cara Delevingne. And this movie was based on the team The Suicide Squad, and this was released August 5th, 2016, and it was a success, making 746.8 million. It received negative reviews, with criticism aimed at its plot, script, dialogue, direction, ending, editing, action sequences, and soundtrack, though some praise was given to Robbie's performance as Harley Quinn. And David A. has gone on to say this wasn't his movie, and this he claims, and he says this movie was done by a trailer house because they wanted it more like Guardians of the Galaxy. And yeah, there's still people calling for the haircut, which could happen. I mean, we've got a Snyder cut, so anything's possible. Maybe later on we get the Ayer cut. So yeah. Then 2017 we had Wonder Woman, which was directed by Patty Jenkins, and starring Gal Gadot. There's Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Robin Wright, Danny Huston, David Thewlis, Connie Nielsen, and Elena Anaya. And it when it was released June 2nd, 2017, it made $822.8 million, and it was considered one of the best movie in the DCEU. And it received praise for its direction, acting, visuals, action sequences, and musical score. So this was the first hit. This was the first DC movie to consider a hit to be it did well by the critics and the audiences, and yeah, this was their first one. And I thought they were going to continue this, but no, they didn't. In 2017, we had Justice League, directed by Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder. Which I already got into this movie. I don't want to get into the whole thing. Basically, Zack Snyder, who was working on Justice League, but he had to tone it down due to the disappointment of Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, and Man of Steel. So he did, and his daughter Autumn committed suicide. So basically, he had to step down. And then they brought Joss Whedon in due to his success with the Avengers. They brought him in to do the reshoots. Then it doubled to 300. Then it made the budget was 300 million, and it was released November 17, 2017, and it made 657.9 million. And received mixed reviews, with criticism aimed towards the plot, pacing, generic villain cinematography, and computer-generated imagery. Whilst tone and its humor and light tone were met with polarized responses, although the action sequences and the cast performances were praised. And Zack Snyder's gone on to say this isn't his movie, and this was by the studio. And I was wondering why they didn't push this back, but the reason why they didn't is because AT&T were buying them, and they decided to do their bonuses and had a mandate that had to be 2 hours. And this was far from what Zack has filmed. And yeah, even cast members such as Ray Fisher has then gone on to say that this was not Zack's vision. And yeah, so yeah, after this, the DCEU was on thin ice. There was nothing, either they just reboot or continue. And so now we're in AT&T, where AT&T bought Warner Brothers, and so they just decided to continue with what they started. So in 2018, we had Aquaman, and this is pretty much the post Zack Snyder era. So the post Zack Snyder era is basically all the movies that were released after Zack Snyder left. So the first one was Aquaman, and yeah, this was directed by James Wan, and it stars Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, William Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, Dolph Lundgren, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Nicole Kidman. And it was released December 21st, 2018. It made $1.149 billion, making it the first DC movie to make $1 billion, and it's even the highest grossing DC movie, and it was the 5th highest grossing movie of 2018, and it was the 25th grossing film of all time. It's currently 26, and the film received praise for its visual effects, production design, action sequences, and Momoa's performance, while being criticized for its script and story. And then 2019 we had Shazam, directed by David F. Sandberg and starring Zachary Levi as Shazam. This was released April 5th, 2019, and the film received positive reviews from critics for Sandberg's direction and the performance of Levi, Angel, and Grace, as well as his general light tone and sense of fun. And it made $366.1 million. Then in 2020, we had Birds of Prey, directed by Kathy Yan, and this starred Margot Robbie, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Johnny Smollett-Bell, Rosie Perez, Chris Messina, Ala J. Basco, Ali Wong, and Ewan McGregor. And this made $205.3 million, and falling short from its break-even point between 250 300 million. The big factor of this was like the last movie before the pandemic in 2020. The film received positive reviews from critics who praised his fast-paced action and Robbie's performance. This was technically a spin-off to Suicide Squad. Then in 2020 we had Wonder Woman 1984, directed by Patty Jenkins and starring Gal Gadot. This was making this the first sequel in the DCEU. This made $169.6 million, which I mean, technically say it's box office bomb, but the reason was because this was just in pandemic, and it received mixed reviews. It received mixed reviews, and yeah, it was the most watched. It was the most watched straight to streaming film in 2020 during the pandemic, and yeah, so there was mixed reviews of this movie. This movie stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Christian Wake, Pedro Pascal, Robin Wright, and Connie Nielsen. And so yeah, then in 2021 we have Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Full Vision Justice League, and this was released March 18, 2021 on HBO Max. This was 242 minutes, and the film was widely superior to a 2017 theatrical release. And Chris Bay, Snyder's direction, visual style, action sequences, performances, improvised characterizations, musical score, and balance of emotional weight and humor, although the runtime received some criticism. And this was Zack's full-length vision. This was finally released, and I'm just happy this was released. Then in 2021, we had The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, and this has ensemble cast. You have Margaret Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Sylvester Stallone, Viola Davis, David Dasmalkian, Daniela Melchior, Michael Rooker, Jai Courtney, Pierre Capaldi, Alice Braga, and Pete Davidson. And this is technically a standalone sequel to Suicide Squad. This was released April 5th, 2021. It made 169 million at the box office, but this was released during the pandemic, and it received positive reviews. He praised the performances, Gunn's writing and direction, action sequences, soundtrack, and visual style, with many deeming it a significant improvement over its predecessor. So that is pretty much it. Now we are in the Discovery era. It was 2021, the end of early 2021. It was announced that Discovery was going to buy Warner Brothers. After AT&T sold the company, and David Zaslav was brought in, and so in between in 2022 we had Peacemaker, which was technically a spin-off series, which was a spin-off of the Suicide Squad starring John Cena, and it stars John Cena, Daniel Brooks, Freddie Stromer, Chuck Iwuju, Jennifer Holland, Steve Agee, and Robert Patrick. This was released January 13, 2022. It received positive reviews, with praise going to Cena's performance in Gunn's acting and writing, and it has been renewed for a second season. And also in 2022, we had Black Adam, directed by Gemma Collette Sarah, starring Dwayne Johnson, Aldous Hodge, Noah Centineo, Sarah Shahi, Marwan Kenzari, Tessa Swindell, and Pierce Brosnan. And it received mixed and negative reviews from critics, but it was a box office bomb, making 393 million, and that is pretty much it. And now let's get into the Elseworlds. And the Elseworlds, we had Joker, which came out in 2019, and directed by Todd Phillips, starring Joaquin Phoenix, which also starred Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, and Francis Conroy, and it made 1.074 billion. It received polarizing reviews from critics, with Phoenix's performance, Phillips' direction, the visual style, editing, musical score, and cinematography being the major signs of praise, while the tone portrayal of mental illness and handling of violence divided opinions. It made 1 billion. It made 1 billion at box office, the first R-rated film to do so, the sixth highest grossing film of 2019, and it has a sequel, Joker's Follow to Deuce, coming on October 4th, 2024, and it'll star Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, and also in 2022 we had The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves and starring Robert Pattinson, and this was released March. This also stars Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, John Turturro, Peter Skarsgård, Andy Serkis, and Colin Farrell, and it made 770.9 million. I received positive from critics with praise for performances, musical score, cinematography, Reeves' direction, editing, visual style, action sequences, and the story, although the runtime received some criticism, and it will have a sequel October 3rd, 2025. And so now that is pretty much it with the DCEU. So now let's move on to basically there was going to be an overhaul at DC, and basically they were going to David Zaslav basically did an overhaul on all the projects. This included them cancelling the Batgirl movie that was supposed to come in 2022, and it was starring Leslie Grace, Brendan Fraser, and Michael Keaton. This was supposed to come in 2022. This was cancelled, and this was run as a tax write-off. Basically, David Zaslav said it doesn't fit in their plans, and they said it was irredeemable, and it was unreleasable. And this had a major backlash as the fact that the movie was finished. This, along with the Scooby movie, were both cancelled. Used as tax write-offs, which I hope Leslie Grace has a future, maybe in Batman Brave Abroad, where she gets her own movie, her own new Batgirl movie. And that's pretty much it. Now we're in the James Gunn and Peter Safran era. Now there are 4 more movies in 2023. We've got Shazam Through the Gods in March. We got The Flash in June. We got Blue Beetle in August, and then we have Aquaman Lost Kingdom in December. And this is basically the slate. Now I've done a breakdown and I've done a live stream about this, but I'm looking forward to this. I think James Gunn he did good with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I hope he does well with this. And so yeah, so it starts in 2025 with Superman Legacy. So we have 5 movies and 5 TV shows, and this is pretty much it. So the DCEU, look, as much as I like the DCEU, it had as good as bad, but I feel like as a franchise it just didn't work, and I think it's good that they're moving on to a new franchise, and so they can leave all this baggage behind. And there was more wrong with the DC. We had Ray Fisher, we had the Amber Heard thing, we had the whole thing with Ezra Miller. I don't want to talk about Ray Fisher, Amber Heard, and Ezra Miller because I've already done separate videos on them. So yeah, the DCEU, I feel like it had so much potential. The problem is that Warner Brothers, they just wanted to get rid of Zack Snyder's vision, and they were going to bring in new, and they wanted to carry on Zack Snyder's what Zack Snyder did, but the problem is just they didn't know where they wanted to go. And now with James Gunn, Peter Safran, we have 5 movies and 5 TV shows to look for. This isn't a whole slate. There's plenty more. So yeah, just want to get this video out. So guys, so much for my video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.